All right, we're back on FFT today, Fantasy Football Today. We're joined by Giants wide receiver Sterling Shepard, who's joining us on behalf of La Quinta. And we wanted to get into some conversation with you today, Shep, about some wide receivers in the NFL, your career as well. I wanted to first start by asking you, Shep, how you doing today? And give me your breakdown of the top 5 pure route runners in the NFL at the wide receiver position.
Yeah, I'm doing good, man. My top 5 route runners. Does it have to be in any order? Or I
No
just
order.
need
No
that
order. It's hard
no
to do in
order.
order.
It is hard to do it in order, but I'm gonna go with Devontae Adams. Then I'm gonna go with Jerry Judy. Uh, you gotta go with Jettas. Uh, let's see who else we got. Keenan Allen, who was so slept on to me, but his route running is crazy. What he just broke some record, right? ten
Yep.
thousand yards.
Yeah, I made one of the best catches of the season, I thought, last night
Yeah,
against the Jets.
yeah, it was nasty. So I'm definitely gonna put him in there, and then my last one. Calvin Ridley. I didn't say Calvin Ridley. Gotta go with him. The man has like no joints in his knees or something. Mhm.
Seems like it's those receivers with the ability to get in and out of their breaks that are the best route runners at the NFL level. I think I put you up there in that mix too, Shep, at least over the last few years following Giants and, watching all 22 film. You've been the best route runner on the team for a while now. But, I want to ask you a little bit about what also makes a wide receiver a consistent winner in the red zone, because for fantasy football, a lot of people are looking for those touchdowns. And I know the space is constricted in the red zone. So what kind of makes you a winner in the red zone, and who would you say are kind of the top 5 threats maybe in the NFL at winning in the red zone?
Yeah, I think one thing, especially when you get into the red zone, a lot of teams are going to go zone. So you have to be smart on knowing what coverage you're getting. If you can beat the defense to knowing the coverage, then it's easier to find what spaces are going to be available. So if you can get a jump on that, and that just comes from watching film and honestly playing a lot of ball. The more you play in the league, more game experience you get, it's easier to identify what coverage is going to be, so you know what spots to get into. But another thing is just being physical, man. Like a physical receiver is gonna ultimately win because it's gonna be tight coverage down there. It usually just comes back. It comes down to like who has more want and who has more grit to go get the ball. So yeah, the big body receivers are pretty good down there. That's the reason why people love to throw fades. It's quick answer, and if you happen to get any pressure, it's an easy ball to throw up.
I can't say fade is my favorite play call down in the red zone, but I know some coordinators still like to run it these days. All right, Chef, I got a fun one for you, and it's a little bit of a trick. There's one trick in here, so I'm going to give you the hint on that. But can you name all the different players that you've caught a pass from in the NFL?
Let's see.
Start with the easy
Yeah, probably
ones.
say Eli Manning,
Yep.
Daniel Jones, Geno Smith.
Yep.
Um, I haven't caught one from DeVito. Tyrod Taylor?
Yep.
No, Tyrod Taylor. Uh, what's my boy name?
Think of the end of the Joe Judge era.
Yeah, I know. That's what I'm trying. Man, it's live too. My boy gonna be mad at me. uh, for the Seahawks, it was during. Colt McCoy.
Yep, you got that. Now you just need 2 more for that very, very end of the
No,
Jones
no,
injury sequence.
I know, I know. I just saw him too. Man, you said his name.
Long neck, long neck.
Oh, yeah,
All right, we'll wrap it up with Mike Lennon.
Mike Glennon.
Okay,
And I
2
thought it
more.
was one. I thought it was one more too, though.
There's 2 more actually,
There's 2 more. Yeah,
but one's a trick.
I'm thinking of someone when I tore my Achilles. He's about to throw me the ball. I'm going blank on their names.
Played at Georgia.
Yeah, I know.
Jake Fromm.
Jay Fromm.
And then there's a trick. Then there's one other player you caught a pass from who's not a quarterback. This one I thought
Had to
was
be a reverse pass or something like
Yep.
that. Right? Oh, KT Tony.
Yeah, Kadarius Toney. There you
Yeah.
go.
There we
8
go.
different players you've caught a pass from in your NFL career.
I like
Just thought
that.
that was a fun one. I wanted to ask you also a little bit about Jalin Hyatt, Giants rookie wide receiver. So for me, he's been a special watch this year on the All 22. I think he's got obvious and defining traits: ability to sink his hips on the double moves, accelerate, losing no ground. He tracks the ball in the vertical plane. To me, reminds me of like a young Deshaun Jackson, especially with that body control. What have you seen from Hyatt, and what kind of player does he remind you of as far as thinking about maybe what his long-term upside can be for football and then for fantasy football managers who might look to draft him?
Yeah, I mean, I would say Deshaun Watson is a pretty good comparison. With that speed, man, it's hard because DBs are scared of that. Whenever you talk to a receiver, you want to tell them to play with speed because that's the biggest threatening thing you can do to a DB. If they are threatened by the deep ball, because nobody wants to get beat on the deep ball, it kind of makes some of the shorter stuff a lot easier. So I mean, he tracks the ball very well. I knew that coming out of college because while I was hurt, I was doing a lot of like scouting stuff, just messing around upstairs, doing some scouting stuff. So I was breaking down some of the wideouts, and he was one of my top guys. So I watched a lot of film on him, and that was the number one thing I said was that he had deep speed and that he was able to track the ball um, with the best of them. So that's pretty much what he's given us. I mean, him being able to track down some of those big balls and going up and go getting them. His hands are strong and speed, speed, speed. You can't beat that.
Yeah, that's really cool to hear, by the way. They got you a little involved a little bit in the scouting. Maybe that's something for Shep. Post NFL career, that would be pretty cool. And I got to say, on tape at least, it looked like he could have 200 yards. And last week against the Raiders, the way they were rolling coverage away from the field side and just leaving it wide open space
Yeah,
wise, it was interesting to see. And he just
yeah,
has such crazy speed out there.
yeah.
I wanted to ask you one thing that we've never quantified in the fantasy football space, but it's something I believe in, and it's the importance of the quarterback wide receiver rapport. I just believe so much of pass game consistency is just timing and rhythm. So I preach a lot about this when I'm giving advice in the fantasy offseason about, players this like I love this offseason. Keenan Allen, way above ADP because he still has that rapport with Justin Herbert that a lot of these receivers that we love in fantasy don't maybe necessarily have. So can you explain from a wide receiver standpoint why rapport is so important when it comes to earning targets?
Yeah, I mean, because a lot of the times it's going to be tight coverage. But if you've had so much repetition throughout the practice field or even on the off season, like I think that's huge. People don't think about that too much during the off season. You have to stick with your quarterback because having that rapport is going to show up. It's going to show up on game time, and as many repetitions you can get at running the same exact routes that you're going to be running in the offense. With the tight coverage, you know where the ball is going to be. You can anticipate it being there, and it makes the QB's job a lot easier. He knows what yard line you're going to be at. Like I remember Eli was huge on timing. Like and because your arm strength goes down as you get older, so you rely a lot on timing. Like Daniel and those younger guys, they can get away with some stuff just because they have that arm strength to fit things in. But yeah, and timing is still important for them as well. But as you get older, it becomes more important.
Maybe one here that we can defend the receivers a little bit on. And another stat that's referenced a lot, and it's yards after the catch. I've made the case before, Shep, that yards after the catch is not just a wide receiver stat, and ball placement from the quarterback plays a big role in it. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, ball placement does help. Uh, but whenever you catch the ball, you got to make it happen. It's on you, no matter where it is. Like you see guys make plays all the time. So when the ball placement isn't so hot, but it definitely does help. I mean, if the ball is thrown out wider, I can continue my momentum and go. But if I have to stop and wait on the ball, then obviously it's going to give the DB time to catch up. So I think ball placement is huge. That's a good one.
Yeah, and I got another question for you as far as targets earned goes. There's a debate in the fantasy football community. They've adopted the idea that targets are earned by a wide receiver and their ability to create separation. And a good example of this, I think, has been Deontay Johnson with the Steelers. I mean, 146 targets last year. The way you watch him run routes, I thought he might have even been in the mix of your top five. I know he's probably right on the fringe, but do you
Yeah,
agree that targets are earned, or do you think they're more of a product of system and quarterback and things like that?
I think it's a bit of both. Um, you have to be able to show that you can create separation. That's the only way that you're going to get the trust that you want from your quarterback. Nobody wants throw to a guy that's always fighting for 50-50 balls. Like, that's tough on the quarterback. It's tough on you. So you definitely got to be able to create separation, but you also have to be given the opportunity to run various routes. Offenses can get vanilla sometimes and, run the same type of things. And this is the NFL. DBs are very smart. They're very quick. They're fast. So you got to have a variety of routes. You got to be able to mix things up. And sometimes if you do run the same route, you got to be able to mix that route up itself. So, yeah, I think it's a combination of both of those.
Shep, throughout your career, you've been a hype guy in my mind on the Giants sideline and on the field. Insert blocks as a wide receiver, blocking downfield, one of your most underrated traits that people don't see all the time. But I see you on the sideline getting everybody hyped up, and I know you've teamed up with La Quinta during this holiday season to launch the first of a kind holiday hype machine. Can you tell us a little bit more about what the holiday hype machine is?
Yeah, so like you said, it's a holiday hype machine. It's a video system that we've created, and basically, me being the hype man, I know how hectic like this time can be. Me personally, because I have kids, I know how stressful it is having to get gifts for everybody, maybe hosting everybody in your house. So I know how tough that can be. So I'm here to give people a little bit more motivation, and they can go on laquinta.com/hype and get videos of me hyping them up, just to give them that extra little push through whatever they're going through. Because, like I said, I know how difficult it can be. But yeah, you can go to that website, and that'll be starting on Monday the 13th, and that's good throughout the rest of the year. And yeah, you can get a video. I had a great time doing the videos, and you already know how I am on the sideline. So I get people right.
I love it, Shep. I got a couple more. I'll do one selfishly from my standpoint that I want to know as somebody who's trying to learn the X's and O's of football. I just want to know why we see some teams play coverages where, they leave the field side open in the passing game. Is that a product of quarterback play? Is that a product of offensive line protection? Like why do we see that happening, and why do we see some teams not really taking advantage of the field side and using everything to the play side in the pass game?
In the past game, whenever you look at the field and the boundary, the field a lot of the times is a pretty long throw. You know what I mean? It's a long throw for the quarterback, and coverage is going to be sticky. So you don't want to give the DB a chance to undercut things. So when you're thinking about it, your route tree is limited there. It'd have to be more in breaking stuff, and DBs know that. It's not too many times that you're going to be to the field and you're running like an out or something like that. It's just too long of a throw from the other hash. So, you see the boundary being used a lot. You look out and you can see coverage. It could be a quick hitter. We have checks to where we can, just check to a hitch if DB is playing far off. If it's something where we know a DB is squatting, we know that we can look the field and throw to the boundary. So I think that's one of the reasons for not as much utilization of the field, unless you got guys in the slot. You can still use those because that's a bit of a shorter throw.
Awesome.
But
I appreciate it, Chep. One final one before we get out of here. I know you got to get going, but do you have any funny stories about Eli Manning from his days working with him? I know he's a prankster. Did you ever get a prank off on him, or did you get one on you?
man, he got tons off on me as a rookie. I'll give you one. So we went to the indoor facility because it was like raining outside or something like that. And there's like little turf beads in
Yep.
between the turf. So one day Eli comes up to me and he's like rubbing his cheek. And he's like, "Ah, man, ah," and he was like, "Yeah, my molar or something, my tooth is hurting." And I was like, "Dang, you might need to go like see a trainer or something." And he was like, "Does yours hurt? Like do you have a molar back there?" And I was like, "Yeah, I mean, but it doesn't hurt." He was like, "Let me see." So I showed him and I opened my mouth and he threw the turf beads all in, like I had them all in there, and I was like spitting them out. But he does that to everybody. He gets everybody with it. But he has tons of them, man. He has tons of them.
I love it. Thank you so much for your time, Shep, today, and I hope you have a good rest of your season.
I appreciate you, man.